October 13th, 2014, from Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis, Missouri. It was the San Francisco 49ers versus the St. Louis Rams on Monday Night Football. And the Niners won the toss and they elected to defer. So the Rams would take over first, and they started off on their own 20, and they moved the ball across midfield when on 3rd and 5 from the 25, Austin Davis hit Cook for a 39-yard pass that brought the ball all the way to the San Francisco 36. And then moments later they would get into the red zone when on 1st and 10, Austin ran for 8 yards to bring it up to the 19, and on 2nd and 2, Austin ended up running for another 2 yards to pick up the first down. So now they had a first down, 1st and 10 on the San Fran 17, and then Austin Davis found Mason for a 12-yard pass to make it 1st and goal from the 5. And then a few plays later, after having a penalty giving them another first down, we ended up eventually with 3rd and goal on the 1, and that's when Cunningham punched it in from a yard out to give the Rams the 7-0 lead over the Niners. So it was 7-0 Rams early. So now the 49ers had the ball with about 8 minutes left in the first quarter, and they would go 3 and out. So now the Rams got the ball back on their own 19. They would end up punting it, though, back to the 49ers. So now the Niners had it with about 4.5 minutes left in the first, and they were backed up against their own end zone on their own 14. Then after Frank Gore picked up 2 yards, Colin Kaepernick aired it out to Anquan Boldin for a 28-yard pass that brought the ball to the San Francisco 44, as they were now out of the shadow of their end zone. But then on the next play on 1st down from the 44, Colin Kaepernick he ended up throwing the ball to McDonald, but he fumbled it. And so Lloyd blew him up, and Laurinaitis ended up recovering the ball for St. Louis. So now the Rams had the ball on their own 45. Mason ended up running for 24 yards and then 3 yards, and then Austin ran for 6 yards, and now it was 3rd and 1 from the San Francisco 22, and that's when Austin Davis found Kendricks for the touchdown to make it 14-0 on the 22-yard touchdown pass, as St. Louis now had a 2-touchdown lead over San Francisco. The Niners now get the ball on their own 20 with less than a minute left in the first, and they brought the first quarter to a close by picking up a first down and bringing the ball all the way up to their 30. So to begin the second quarter, it was 14-0 St. Louis over San Francisco, and the Niners had the ball on their own 30. But they would end up having to punt the ball a few plays later, as they ended up having their drive stall at midfield, and they punted on 4th and 2 from the St. Louis 49. So now the Rams had the ball back on their own 18-yard line. 6 plays later, though, they would punt the ball back to the Niners. So now San Francisco took over with 8 minutes left in the first half, down by 14 points. They had the ball on the St. Louis 43, and they would end up having to settle for a field goal 4 plays later, as Phil Dawson came out to attempt a 54-yarder, and it was good, as the Niners put their first points on the board in this game. It was now Rams 14, 49ers 3. So now the Rams had the ball with about 7 minutes left before halftime. They wouldn't really get much going, though. They did bring the ball out to midfield, but they would end up punting from their own 49. So now the 49ers took over with less than 2 minutes left, and they were backed up against their own end zone on their own 5-yard line. But then on 2nd and 11 from their own 4, Colin Kaepernick ended up hitting Anquan Boldin for a 12-yard pass that got them out of the literal shadow of their end zone, brought it out to the 16 for a first down. They ended up where it was 3rd and 6 from their own 20, and that's when Colin Kaepernick hit Brandon Lloyd for an 80-yard touchdown pass to make it a 4-point game. So it was now Rams 14, 49ers 10, as they scored just before halftime. The Rams would get the ball just to kneel it, as there was just seconds on the clock, and they made the wise decision as Austin Davis took the knee, and we went to halftime with the score 14-10 St. Louis over San Francisco. So St. Louis started off with those 14 points, and then the Niners responded with 10 points in the second. So now in the third quarter, the Niners would end up with the ball first, and they had it on their own 20, and they would bring the ball across midfield when on 2nd and 10 from their own 32, Colin Kaepernick scrambled for a 23-yard pickup, and that would bring the ball to the St. Louis 45. They ended up getting into field goal range, and on 3rd and 12 from their own 35, Colin Kaepernick hit Anquan Boldin for a 15-yard pass that made it first down on the 20 as they were now in the red zone. Then a couple plays later, it was 3rd and 1 from the St. Louis 11, and that's when Colin Kaepernick hit Anquan Boldin for an 11-yard touchdown pass that gave the 49ers the lead for the first time in this game, with the score now 17-14, San Fran over St. Louis. So at this point, the Niners had responded, being down 14-0 with 17 unanswered points. The Rams then went 3 and out and punted the ball back to the Niners. The Niners would do the same as they also went 3 and out. So now the Rams had the ball with about 6.5 minutes left in the third. They wouldn't go 3 and out as they did pick up a first down, but they would end up punting after 5 plays. So now San Francisco had the ball with a little over 4 minutes left in the third quarter. They had it on their own 22. Kaepernick hit Johnson for a 9-yard pass, and then he hit Johnson for a 20-yard pass. And so now it was 1st and 10 on the St. Louis 49. They ended up picking up a first down on 3rd and 6 from the 45 when Kaepernick hit Boldin for an 11-yard pass. And then a couple plays later, it was 2nd and 8 from the St. Louis 32, and Colin Kaepernick hit Michael Crabtree for a 32-yard touchdown pass to give the Niners the 10-point lead, with the score now 24-14. So with the pass to Crabtree, the Niners now had scored 24 unanswered points after having been down 14-0. And so the Rams would have the ball as they brought the third quarter to a close, and after 3 it was San Francisco 24, St. Louis 14. So now in the fourth quarter, the Rams would start things off. It was 2nd and 3 from their own 29. They would pick up the first down, but then they would end up having to punt the ball on the next set of downs. Of course, a costly penalty. It was already 4th and 15, and it ended up being 4th and 20 as they punted the ball back to the Niners. The Niners then went 3 and out, and they punted it back to the Rams, who would also go 3 and out at this point. And so now San Francisco got the ball back after the St. Louis punt with about a little less than 12 minutes left in the game, and they had it on their own 43 as they're right there at midfield. They ended up getting into St. Louis territory and into the red zone. Then on 3rd and 1 from the 15, Kaepernick ran for 10 yards to make it 1st and goal from the 5. Then a pair of incomplete passes, although there was a penalty on the first down, which gave them a new set of downs, and then an incomplete pass brought up 2nd and goal from the 2. They picked up a yard. But then on 3rd and goal from the 1, they lost a yard. So on 4th and goal from the 2-yard line, they went for it. They ended up where they did not make it, and then there was actually a penalty of unsportsmanlike contact that would be enforced between downs. So now the Rams took over as the Niners turned the ball over on downs, as they were only able to pick up a yard when they needed to, and they did not get into the end zone. So really that was what they needed. So St. Louis took over on their own 1, and they were literally in their end zone. They weren't even in the shadow of it. They were in the end zone taking the snaps as they're right there on the 1. They ended up punting from their own 2-yard line after going 3 and out. So now the Niners got the ball on the St. Louis 43 to begin their drive with less than 5 minutes left in this game, as they're starting off already in St. Louis territory. But they failed to pick up a first down. They came really close, and they decided to go for it on 4th and 1, and Frank Gore was stuffed for no gain, and the Niners turned the ball over on downs. So now the Cardinals took over with about 4:20 left in the game. They had the ball on their own 34. They brought the ball across midfield and all the way to the red zone as they made it to the edge of the red zone. But on 4th and 8 from the San Francisco 20, Greg Zuerlein would come out to kick the 38-yard field goal, and it was good. And it was now 24-17 as the Rams were now within a touchdown with about 2.5 minutes left in this game. So now the Niners got the ball, and they ended up having it on their own 48. So After the onside kick failed, they recovered it, and they had the ball right there already in St. Louis territory on the St. Louis 48. They would end up going 3 and out, and they punted the ball back to the Rams. So the Rams now had the ball on their own 9-yard line with just over a minute left in this game, trailing by a touchdown. So the Rams needed a touchdown to send this one into overtime. And on 1st and 10, Davis hit Cunningham on a check down for 6 yards, and then it was 2nd and 4 from their own 15. Austin Davis dropped back to pass. He looked for Britt, but instead was intercepted by Johnson, and Johnson ran it back all the way 20 yards for the pick 6 and the touchdown to give the Niners the lead 31-17 to extend their lead to 2 touchdowns and put this one out of hand and out of touch, as they now sealed the deal with the pick 6 and the score. So it's now 31-17, San Francisco over St. Louis, and that was all she wrote. The Rams would get the ball back, but they would not be able to score 2 touchdowns in less than a minute. They wouldn't even score at all in that point. They did get it into San Francisco territory, but the game came to a close as the San Francisco 49ers hang on to win this one 31-17. They were down 14-0 early. They scored 24 unanswered points, and then when the Rams started to make a little comeback, they shut the door with that pick 6. And with the win, the 49ers are now 4-2 on the season, and the Rams are 1-4. And in this game, Colin Kaepernick was 22 for 36 with 343 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. He also rushed for 37 yards off of 3 carries and was almost the game's leading rusher. He was just 3 yards shy of being the game's leading rusher. That was actually Mason, who had 40 yards for the Rams off of 5 carries to be the game's leading rusher. Austin Davis was 21 for 42 with 236 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. The game's leading receiver was Anquan Boldin with 94 yards off of 7 receptions, one of which was for a touchdown. Brandon Lloyd had 80 yards off that one huge 80-yard touchdown pass that he caught. That was the lone reception that he caught in this game. And on defense, the leading tackler was McDonald. He had 10 tackles for the Rams. The Rams did not have any sacks, whereas the 49ers sacked Austin Davis 5 times. Bethea had 7 tackles and 1 sack. And then Brooks had 5 tackles and 2 sacks. And Scuda had 3 tackles and 2 sacks as well. So a pair of sacks for both Scuda and for Brooks. Brooks. So they came up huge, and they also had the interception by Johnson. He had 1 tackle to go with that interception, but that was a huge, huge interception. That one sealed the victory. That pick 6 as he scored the defensive touchdown for the Niners, and they win this one with the final score 31-17 over St. Louis.